Hello folks, I've been given a very interesting chart to take a look at. Now, someone has given me this from within the industry and they've asked that I don't share it and I don't disclose who's given me it, but this is basically all information that I believe is available in the public domain if you look hard enough for it, and it's just been collated in a nice clear way. But we're looking at basically the performance of different manufacturers against the zero emissions mandate for 2024. If you're not aware of that, it means that manufacturers have a target of 22% of their vehicles in 2024 that are sold must be zero tailpipe emissions vehicles. So that means electric vehicles, for example. Now, there are various things they can do to mitigate some of that, like plug-in hybrids help. They can buy credits from other companies. I mean, there are companies like Tesla that produce 100% zero tailpipe emission vehicles, and they could in effect sell their credits to other manufacturers. But this chart just gets the nuts and bolts of the amount of vehicles they've sold and the percentage of those that are zero tailpipe emissions vehicles. So I'm going to break this down into probably three sections. So we're going to look at the companies that are way beyond where they need to be at the moment. And in fact, some of them have got nothing to worry about even next year when it goes up again, and possibly even the year after. Then we've got a big section in the middle where they're generally all below the target, but possibly some of the things they're doing, possibly sharing credits and things like that, might help them with the performance. And then we're going to look at the ones that seem to be in big trouble. And some of these are on the borderline, by the way. And some of them are selling huge numbers of vehicles. So even though they might only be a few percentage points off, you have to think if they don't meet that target, it's £15,000 fine per vehicle that doesn't meet the target. So if 6% of their sales are a problem and they've sold over 100,000 vehicles, that's a lot of money, As said, I'm going to honour the wishes of the person that shared this with me, and I'm not going to show you the graphic, but I'm going to talk you through it. Number one is obviously Tesla. 100% of their vehicles are zero tailpipe emissions. BYD is next, just under the 100%. Obviously, you can buy plug-in hybrid BYDs. Genesis are performing very, very well. I haven't got exact percentages on these because it's in a chart, like a bar chart. But Genesis are doing very well. They're not selling loads of cars, but in terms of the zero emissions mandate, it's not a problem. Lotus, equally, not a problem. Abarth, Volvo, there's a sort of big drop between Abarth and Volvo. Abarth are probably around about 45 to 50%. Volvo are at 30%-ish, 29%, maybe something like that. And then at similar level, you've got Jeep, MG, and BMW. I was surprised to see BMW so high up the list. They have come out with some really good electric cars, in fairness, and some really good plug-in hybrids. But the legacy manufacturers that sell loads and loads of petrol and diesel cars are obviously going to find life more difficult than someone like Tesla with this. So I was surprised to see they performed so well, and it's probably testament to some of the vehicles they've put out, in fairness. Cupra are next. These are all well within the target, okay, and next year's target, I would say, at the current level. And then Mercedes is the one where they're on target for this year, but they might struggle a bit next year if EV sales don't pick up. Then we've got this sort of middle ground, and the start of these are really quite close to the target already, but as we get towards the tail end of it, some of them are a long way off, and some of them are selling significant volumes of vehicles and they're a long way off. So that means big fines, potentially. So Omoda, very close to the target, but not quite there. Obviously, they're a new entrant to the market, a new name badge. Strange to see Omoda outselling a company like Genesis. I know the price point's a bit friendlier in an Omoda than it is in a Genesis, but Genesis vehicles are so unbelievably good. I thought they'd have sold a few more than they have. We're probably looking at just a few thousand sales for Genesis and maybe 5,000 or 6,000 for Omoda. Porsche are next. They're not too far away from the target. They have sold a significant number of vehicles, probably 60,000-ish. Subaru are next, not too far away from the target. They don't sell many cars at all, probably similar numbers to Omoda. Lexus a little bit below target, probably 2 or 3% below where they should be. And I would say they're selling 15 to 20,000 vehicles. Jaguar are next. There's a bit of a drop down for Jaguar, probably at 17, 18%, somewhere around that, maybe slightly higher. And they're probably getting on for 20,000 vehicles. Obviously not now because you can't buy a new Jag at the moment. Hyundai are next. Now I'm really surprised by this because Hyundai and Kia are producing some of the best electric vehicles on the market. And when I say the best, I'm looking at the all-round package and what you get for your money. So Hyundai, despite having some amazing electric vehicles, towards target are just a little bit above Vauxhall, Honda, Audi, and then Mini, who are all at a similar level. I would say they're between 15 and 18% ZEV target. Hyundai have sold about probably 85,000 vehicles. I would suggest Vauxhall about 75, 78,000. Honda maybe 30, 35,000. Audi probably getting on towards 120,000, maybe 110, 115, something like that. And Mini around about probably 38,000. Skoda are then next. I would say Skoda now we're getting down towards 15, 16% against target. They've sold about 70,000 vehicles. Kia, I would say 15% against target-ish. They've sold 100,000 vehicles, over 100,000 vehicles. And Citroen, similar performance against target, but they've sold maybe 25, 30,000 cars. Renault, again, similar performance. They've sold about 50,000 cars. And then Nissan is a bit of a surprise because obviously Nissan are one of the first companies to come out with EVs with the Leaf. They've also got the Aria, which is a brilliant car. Like, it really is a great car, the Aria, and definitely underrated, I would say. And a lot of people just overlook it, but it's a really good car and a really good EV. I would say they're around 14% ZEV, where they should be at 22. And they've sold about 90,000 vehicles. So that could be a sticky one. Then we've got VW, who again, I would say around about that 14% mark, according to this chart. They've sold about 150,000 vehicles. So the fines there could be extremely significant. So perhaps we will see an end of year fire sale from VW. We saw it last year with the ID Buzz, and maybe we'll see it again. Who knows? VW have now got a really decent bunch of electric cars out as well. They still don't have that ID2, which is the one that will hopefully mean they hit target next year. But the ID3 is vastly improved. The ID4 and ID5 are decent. The 7 is brilliant. Like, it's a really great car. So they're heading in the right direction, and I think they'll just see this as perhaps they should have come to the party a little bit earlier, but their trajectory is, I would say, a positive one. Fiat, we're looking at maybe 12% ZEV and probably 15 to 18,000 sales. Toyota, similar levels to Fiat in terms of the ZEV mandate performance, but probably about 90,000 sales. So again, that could be very expensive. And then Ford, we're probably at 10% on Ford, if that, and they're almost 100,000 sales. I've said it in previous videos, but Ford have given us three electric cars in the same category, and they've done nothing to serve anyone else. Where's the electric Fiesta, which would have been great for them, I've got no doubt. It sounds like that might never come now after recent comments from Jim Farley, and it looks like Ford are going to be pushing into premium stuff more. Maserati are one that don't sell many cars at all. We're probably talking in the hundreds, and they're probably at about 8% zero emissions vehicles, somewhere around there. And obviously the target's 22%. KGM maybe sold 1,000 vehicles or so, and they're probably around about that 8%, as are DS. Very similar sales numbers and performance against target numbers for those. Mazda sell about 25,000 vehicles, and performance against ZEV mandate target maybe 7%, something like that. Alfa Romeo, we're probably talking 5%. and I'd say they've sold a couple of thousand vehicles. 𝙇𝙄𝙉𝙆𝙎, obviously they've only just come to market with an EV, and it's that Spring, which is very compromised, very compromised. It is cheap, I guess, but I don't think cheap always equates to value for money, and I think that's the case here. They're probably 4% ZEV, something like that, and they've sold getting on for 30,000 cars, I would say. So that's going to be an awfully difficult one for them, because they're facing some potentially huge fines there, and obviously their cars don't have the kind of margin that the next on the list, which is Land Rover, have. Obviously Land Rover is massively expensive. If you go for a Range Rover or something, or a Defender, massively expensive cars, so they probably carry enough margin to pay off the fines, where that's not going to be the case with 𝙇𝙄𝙉𝙆, is it? So Land Rover, you probably very low single digits against target, I would say, maybe 2 or 3%, selling around about 50,000 vehicles, 55,000 vehicles maybe. And then you've got Seat and Suzuki that don't really register against the target from what I can see. Seat selling 35,000 vehicles, Suzuki selling 20,000 vehicles. It's going to be very tough on both of those companies. Now, obviously there's a big lobby at the moment to government to act on this ZEV mandate and change it, because lots of car manufacturers are saying it's ridiculous, like we can't get there, it's going to cost jobs. Some of them that produce vehicles in England are saying, well, we might have to close those factories. Vauxhall has come out and said they're going to close Luton, but I mean, they'd already done that, I think, and already decided to move production elsewhere. I've said in another video that I feel the government should be doing way more to counteract a lot of the nonsense that's out in the press. There are lots of people that are not buying an EV for all the wrong reasons, because they believe all this nonsense that's out there. I was recently informed that one oil company has 150 paid lobbyists in the UK alone to put stories out there in the press. And obviously for the press, it's easy clicks to put some sensationalist story on page one. Whether it's true or not, it's not always the biggest priority, I feel, personally. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. EVs are not perfect, right? And they're not for everyone at the moment. If you want to tow a caravan, an EV's not really a great way to do it. If you don't have access to a home charger, you're going to find it more inconvenient and more expensive than someone that has. So again, I've talked about this before, but these are things the government needs to address. We need some kind of national campaign actually educating people about EVs with truths and facts and numbers and stats, rather than absolute nonsense. Just one classic thing is the fact they all burst into flames and all that kind of stuff. If you actually find the stats for that, it's laughable, really. It is absolutely laughable. And there's so much other utter nonsense about them. And obviously it's always spun in a certain way. I'm not an EV evangelist. I don't think everyone should have an electric car right now. I've got two, but it doesn't affect my opinion on you having one. I've said before, but I wouldn't personally have one if I couldn't charge at home, and a massive part of the population can't charge at home. So let's have that addressed at national level. Let's stop local councils putting the veto on people having pavement gullies. Let's get them investing in street post charging, things like that, things that could be being done and aren't, and stuff where you've got this message from central government saying get yourself in an EV, and then your local council saying, oh no, we're not going to give you planning permission for that. It's just not joined up at all. And perhaps they should relax the mandate until they've got a proper plan in place to make having an EV more convenient for everyone. So I'll use myself as an example here, okay? I've got a private drive and I've been able to fit a charger at home. That makes it really cheap and convenient for me to charge my car. To do 200 miles in my Tesla probably cost me about £3.50. If I went to a public charger, those 200 miles would probably cost me 40 odd quid. So you can see the kind of cost saving there is there immediately. Of course, I don't have to go into petrol stations anymore and get my card cloned, which has happened a few times. So there are all sorts of just practical advantages to an electric car if you're the right kind of user. If I was doing 500 miles a day, I probably wouldn't want one then, but I don't do 500 miles a day. I very rarely do 300 miles a day. And when I do, I just stop for a wee at some point and charge the car for 10 minutes. And that gets me where I'm going and back again. So it's not a chore at all. Like, it's really not a chore. But for some people, they don't suit right now. And I get that. And I'd never try and convert anyone into an electric car. But what is important, I think, for me and for everyone, is that we hear the truth and we hear it sort of centrally. We're not hearing it from some fat bloke on YouTube with glasses and funny hair. We're hearing it from the government. We're hearing it from national bodies. Because at the moment, that's not happening. And I feel like rather than pushing subsidies to manufacturers, and maybe rather than relaxing the ZEV mandate rules even, education and infrastructure and making EVs really convenient for everyone and a bit cheaper for everyone to run, it's probably going to convert a lot of people naturally. But I think until these things are addressed at national level, like it becoming really cheap for everyone, really convenient for everyone, I think companies are going to continue to struggle to hit these targets. And if they're constantly having to pay thousands and thousands in fines, they'll either stop selling petrol and diesel vehicles entirely, so people won't have any choice anyway, or they'll just pull out of the market. And all that'll do is send the price of everything up. It's a tricky one, folks, and I'm sorry I can't share that graphic with you because it would be a far more entertaining video if you had something to look at rather than my fat head. But that's the way it is. As I said, I think all this information is probably available in the public domain. It's just that it's been collated in such a way here that I thought it would make a semi-interesting video for you. And maybe a sign that you'll see some bargain Fords and Volkswagens and Audis and Kias at the end of the year, certainly electric ones, but who knows? The least deals of the month videos will be out later this week, so hopefully we'll see some really good deals on EVs in that, and possibly plug-in hybrids as well. Thanks for watching, folks. Please give the video a thumbs up, please subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Huge thanks to all my channel members for your continued support. I really do appreciate it.